Relations between the Sussexes and the Prince of Wales remain fraught. William's running out of patience, said the source. Good on him. He believes the Sussexes have cashed in on their royal connection. They
stop while you are ahead, because you're going to look like a fool. It's ridiculous. Stop it. Okay? This doesn't even make sense to me that she would even think that she
went scorched earth. The palace said, absolutely not. We're going to completely cut you off now. Thanks to Oprah, thanks to Spare, thanks to the Harry and Meghan Netflix series, because they were...
The monarchy stayed silent, and the public quietly watched and waited. Then William ended every lingering maybe with one decisive move. Prince William did something no future king had done before, and once it happened, there was no reversing it.
Meghan's title could be on very shaky ground. Yet those close to the Duchess insist she won't be intimidated. Meghan's never been short of ambition or drive and is absolutely relentless, said the...
This wasn't a leak, not palace messaging, and not soft language sent out to test reactions. He signed his own name to a statement so clear and firm that even seasoned royal insiders had to reread it to be sure. Just 19 words said everything. Hidden inside was a direct message. There would be no path back. That's what made it so surprising. William had spent years doing the opposite.
Moving on from royal life, those titles remain their foundation. She and Harry will fight hard to hold on to them. P. Dinah, your reaction?
The delusion.
He stayed silent, absorbed criticism, let rumors circulate, and allowed speculation to grow, because that's the role of an heir. They wait, they measure every step, and they protect the institution by saying as little as possible. Silence was his shield, and patience was the plan. But over time, that approach stopped working. Small hints of maybe later or things could still change had always left room for confusion and outside interpretation. Every phrase created space for spin. William wiped all of that away in one clean move.
Shut your mouth, okay? You don't know what you're talking about. You are not going to get to keep that title. It is going to be stripped, and just get used to it.
This wasn't emotional or impulsive. It was deliberate and controlled. By attaching his own name, he sent a clear signal that this decision didn't come from advisors, protocol, or palace routine. Those close to the situation understood instantly that discussion was finished. This wasn't a warning or a trial move, it was a final position. A former palace press secretary explained it plainly, saying that when William speaks this directly, the issue is no longer open for debate. That moment shifted everything.
Sources are telling you the Duke and Duchess of Sussex may lose their title. Why? How did this happen?
Well, this happened because Andrew lost the title and Prince William stood up and took notice at how easy it was. So before...
Speculation faded, replaced by realization. And it stopped being about Meghan alone. The statement revealed something deeper about William's approach. It showed a future leader prepared to protect private matters, uphold the institution, and set direction without hesitation. For Catherine, the turning point wasn't one incident, but an ongoing pattern. By September 2024, her focus was firmly on her professional responsibilities.
Swelled up with ego, she doesn't even know when to control it. Like, at this point, you need to just shut your mouth, okay? That's ridiculous. That's what I think.
Yeah, and the thing is, P. Dinah, Paula Frolic of News Nation is making it clear that William is very serious about this.
Community initiatives, well-being campaigns, and long-term projects aimed at lasting impact continued forward. Yet nearly every effort was followed by critical coverage. At first, Catherine brushed it aside. Media pressure wasn't new to her, but she's careful and highly organized. She started paying closer attention. By November, she had quietly kept records showing 10 separate moments where critical coverage appeared less than 48 hours after her public work.
Very angry at all times, and William's just kind of like, hey, who the heck are you? And yes, they do blame Meghan. Now, I don't like to blame one person for another person's actions. Everyone has their own responsibilities. However,
10 times. That wasn't random. Everything was tracked calmly and methodically. She brought the information to William and spoke plainly. This felt intentional, she said quietly. For someone who rarely raises concerns or pushes back, this mattered. Her words landed hard. This wasn't gossip or tabloid noise. It looked structured, planned, and designed to undermine her role and, by extension, the institution itself.
Is so appropriate right now because it's Tom Bower taking us back to when the King and Meghan spent some time together.
That realization changed the tone instantly. William saw it wasn't chance or coincidence. The pressure was focused and deliberate, aimed at someone central to the monarchy's future. What once seemed like a public perception issue now looked like something much bigger, and ignoring it was no longer an option. By mid-November, William received a detailed security briefing that shifted everything. It wasn't routine or symbolic, it was direct and focused. Teams had been monitoring coordinated online activity and uncovered patterns that raised concern. This wasn't spontaneous criticism. Catherine was clearly the focus. The question weighing on William was answered carefully but unmistakably. A notable portion of the online activity traced back to outspoken pro-Sussex supporters.
And I think this was important too, it certainly backed up my reporting over the past few months, why William feels so strongly about this. What
once seemed like a contained family matter had expanded into a broader digital effort aimed at creating disruption around the royal household. Catherine, always composed, never demanded action. She maintained discipline and focus even as persistent negativity followed her public work. Watching his wife quietly absorb coordinated pressure while continuing her duties forced William to confront a hard reality. Uncleared boundaries had allowed the situation to grow.
In Harry's book, Harry talks about how they bonded, Meghan Markle and the King, and just how close they truly were. But
Every delay and half measure created space for others to push further. At that point, William saw the situation clearly. This was no longer personal, it was institutional. Waiting was no longer an option. Open doors turned into access points for ongoing disruption. For the first time in years, silence was set aside in favor of firm direction, and this was only the beginning.
He has gotten with Meghan, and he now feels he has to protect her and, defend her at all costs, even when there's bad behavior involved.
As William reached clarity, Charles faced mounting strain. By October 2024, the pace had been relentless. Staff were stretched, communication teams overwhelmed, and long hours were spent managing repeated fallout tied to ongoing discussions concerning Sussex. Diplomatic work, policy work, and international priorities were repeatedly pushed aside just to manage speculation and limit reputational strain. Charles confided in a trusted aide, saying, "I feel trapped between my love for Harry and my responsibility to the institution."
Embarrassment, as we again saw with Andrew, with people off doing their things, and especially with Meghan and Harry still attempt.
He hoped for reconciliation, healing, and stability, but over time, that hope slowly turned into hesitation. Each unanswered question fueled another news cycle. Every delay created fresh uncertainty. At the same time, Charles was dealing with serious personal health challenges, and the pressure weighed on him, both privately and publicly.
Over the fact that Meghan wouldn't stop her father from going on television, and the King kept berating, as Tom Bower.
William observed all of this carefully. He listened as his father spoke about patience and forgiveness, but he also saw the growing cost of waiting. Optimism alone couldn't keep the institution steady. What it needed were clear limits and defined expectations. Gradually, William reached a conclusion his father hadn't fully accepted yet. Protecting the institution required firmness, not emotion. Compassion mattered, but it couldn't replace responsibility. This realization shaped William's next steps, not rushed or emotional, but steady and deliberate. He believed a future monarch had to show resolve, clarity, and the confidence to act when restraint stopped working. That's when Anne stepped in. She didn't raise her voice or soften her point, she delivered it with clean, unmistakable clarity.
She told William something that stayed with him. You cannot protect everyone.
At some point, she explained, a choice has to be made between the institution and the individual creating instability. Her words were calm, but they carried serious weight. Anne's lifetime of service gave her perspective others avoided. She understood that institutions survive by setting boundaries, not by shielding emotions. Loyalty and sentiment could never outweigh structural necessity. William had been searching for balance, a middle path that protected both people and the crown, and Anne made it clear that option didn't exist. By then, pressure surrounded William from every direction. Catherine faced sustained scrutiny. Charles was worn down. Palace staff quietly questioned whether the current approach could hold. Outside observers were watching closely, assessing stability. This clarity shaped William's next steps, steady and intentional, not emotional or rushed. He believed a future monarch had to represent strength, decisiveness, and the ability to act when silence stopped serving its purpose. Anne stepped in once more, calm and exact. She didn't raise her voice or soften her message. She delivered it with sharp focus. You cannot protect everyone. The words cut straight through the noise. She repeated it plainly. At some point, a choice must be made between the institution and the individual creating instability. Anne had lived by that principle for decades. She understood what others avoided. Institutions endure because they set firm boundaries. Loyalty cannot outweigh responsibility, and personal feelings cannot override survival. William had been holding on to the idea of balance, hoping there was a way to shield everyone. That belief collapsed under reality. There was no safe middle when the monarchy itself was at stake. Pressure intensified from all sides. Catherine continued facing coordinated scrutiny. Charles appeared worn down. Staff quietly questioned whether prolonged uncertainty could hold. Outside observers watched closely, assessing stability. Each delay increased risk. What began as internal tension had become a structural weakness. Anne's words echoed in William's mind. Leadership required limits. Protection could not be endless. By the end of the briefing, William accepted a difficult truth. December 1st, Windsor Castle, a private study wrapped in silence. William arrived early with a single folder in hand. Inside was a statement meant to close years of speculation. The atmosphere felt heavier than usual. He set the folder down and waited. Charles entered next, clearly worn from weeks of constant pressure. Anne followed, her focus sharp and precise. Then Catherine arrived, calm and composed, ready to witness a moment that would redefine everything. There was no ceremony and no display, just a room filled with purpose and decisions that could no longer be delayed. William opened the meeting directly. The decision would be permanent, followed by silence. The statement was read aloud slowly, every line deliberate. Each sentence was clear, final, and left no room for reinterpretation. Catherine spoke first. She said it was clear, not provocative, simply a statement of reality. Her calm assessment shifted the room. This wasn't emotional or reactive. It was factual, institutional, and controlled. Charles paused, the weight visible on his face. After a long moment, he nodded and said he supported it, not because it was easy, but because he trusted his son's judgment. At 7:48 a.m. the next morning, the statement was released worldwide. Headlines adjusted instantly. The tone changed, a chapter closed, and the monarchy moved forward with clarity and control. This time, it was Prince William speaking directly, closing a door with no room for interpretation. Later, sources suggested the moment landed heavily. Harry absorbed it quietly, and while Meghan's response appeared measured and controlled, the weight of the decision was impossible to miss. The statement removed flexibility entirely. There were no loopholes and no ambiguity. For years, unclear boundaries had allowed space for reframing and reinterpretation. That space disappeared. William's words publicly closed the door in a way that couldn't be adjusted or softened. History was no longer open to revision, and accountability became fixed. The moment itself was calm. There was no visible spectacle, no public drama, yet the impact was undeniable. This was no longer discussion or speculation. Direction had been set. The institution had moved forward decisively, and the path ahead was clearly defined. From that point on, the separation was operational, not symbolic. There was no shared momentum and no expectation of overlap. Public roles, appearances, and future involvement were recalibrated immediately. The institutional record was sealed and no longer open to challenge. What remained was independence, but independence with responsibility. Every choice, every opportunity, and every outcome now rested entirely on Meghan and those closest to her. This shift wasn't punitive, it was definitional. The Crown clarified its boundaries, drew firm lines, and established a precedent for the future. Royal observers recognized instantly that this marked a rare moment in modern monarchy. It was a public and permanent separation of influence, carried out with clarity and precision. For Meghan, this wasn't symbolic, it was operational, and the effects were immediate. There would be no royal coordination, no institutional association, and no involvement in future royal milestones. Expectations were reset in real time. Her path would move forward independently, shaped on her own terms, but without institutional backing. The uncertainty that once allowed flexibility disappeared. The maybes and the somedays that had lingered for years were fully erased. History now carried William's decision as established fact, sealed into the record. Independence remained, but it came with full accountability. Every decision and consequence belonged solely to her immediate circle. That choice shaped everything that followed and marked a clear turning point. It showed a leader asserting that clarity, decisiveness, and boundaries are non-negotiable, even when personal relationships complicate the moment. Leadership here required lines that could not be blurred. History may debate timing or personal impact, but one fact stands firm. At 7:48 a.m. on a December morning, Prince William closed the longest unresolved chapter in modern royal history. A monarchy long weighed down by speculation finally moved forward without hesitation. From that moment on, direction was clear. William's future leadership will be measured by this decision. It became a blueprint for how he leads, signaling to allies, critics, and the public that stability matters more than convenience. Principle outweighs sentiment. Clarity matters more than comfort. It proved that leadership sometimes demands firm boundaries and public resolution, even when family is involved. From that day forward, the monarchy stopped waiting and started moving. Decisions followed intent. Narratives were defined, not chased. Endless ambiguity ended, and a new chapter began, one shaped by action, discipline, and momentum. If this breakdown gave you a new perspective, drop your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like the video, share it with someone who should see it, and subscribe for more deep dives like this one. I'll see you on the next one.